Hello, we're going to do another lesson today. Today we're doing Module 2, Lesson 10. We're going to be doing products of decimals, which means multiplication of decimals, using the distributive property. I've used the term distributive property a few times this year, but we're going to really break it down today. So the definition is up here in red, and the definition of distributive property is an expression may be expanded to form an equivalent expression. So pause the video for a second if you need to, write this definition down, and then when you're ready, you can start the video again and move on. But what really it is, it's an expression that may be expanded. Expanded means to spread things out. And equivalent expression, you know, equivalent means equal to. So we're going to break up numbers to be equal. And now, distributive property, when you distribute something, you kind of spread it out. You spread things out. If you distribute them across, like papers across a classroom, I'm going to distribute papers to each person, so it's going to spread out. So, now that we have that definition, let's move on to our first problem. Get rid of that. So our first problem is going to be 200 times 32 and 6/10. Now, you could just do the problem, the standard method that we used yesterday, but today we're going to distribute out the numbers. And how we do that is, and we do it so that we can, so that you can do some of the math in your head. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do 200 times 30. Okay? Plus 200 times 2 plus 200 times 6/10. Now, do you see how we have the 30 in this one, the 2 in this one, and the 6/10 in this one? What I did was I separated out the digits by the tens column, the ones column, and the tenths column. So now, maybe I can do some of this in my head, because I can't do 200 times 32 and 6/10 in my head, but I can do each piece in my head. Let's look at it. 200 times 30. Well, I know 2 and 3 is 6, and I have 3 zeros using our powers of 10. Plus, let's see, 2 times 2 is 4, and then I have 2 zeros. That works. And then 2 times 6 is 12 with 2 zeros. But we have a decimal here. So that means I have a tenth here. So that means I have to have a tenth down here. So now let's add 6,000 plus 400 plus 120. That would give me 0, 2, 5, 6,520. I hope that's right. If you need time to stop and take notes, go ahead. If you're ready, you can just move on. I'm going to, if you need to pause if you need to do that. So I'm going to move on to the next part. Trying to erase this first. Okay, there we go. Now I can move up. Our second problem is we're going to use partial products, which is the distributive method, or I can also use an area model. And in this case, on your paper, I drew the box much bigger. But in this case, what it actually means is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to redraw this so it looks more like the box in the paper. Pretend that's it's crossed out. That would be the box on our paper. 500 would be down here. So we're going to distribute, break this into pieces again. So I have 500 times 20, 500 times 2, 500 times 1/10, and 500 times 200ths. See what I did on this side over here? I distributed 22 and 1200ths into 20, 2, 1/10, and 200. So that's 1200ths. So now, just like in the problem before, I'm going to do each section. So in this section up here, in the top one, up here, it's going to be 500 times 220, and that's going to give me, let me get rid of that for a second. So that's what I would put in there, and that really gives me 5 times 2 is 10, and I have 3 zeros. 10,000 in that one. Now I would do the next one, I would do 2 and the 5. They would meet there, so that's 10 with 2 zeros. And then the 0.1 is 5, 0, 0. But then I have to do 1/10. And then 5 times 2 is 10 with 2 zeros. I'm getting the 2 zeros from there. And then, but I need 2 decimal places. So that would put my decimal right there. Remember, 1 decimal place, 2 decimal place. I have to have the same as my answer. So now I would just add them all together. 10,000 plus 1,000 plus 50 plus 10. That gives me 11,060. Take these notes. Please come see me when you're done. Thank you.